Hello and welcome to the Bedroom Studios podcast, the podcast where we talk about what goes on behind the scenes in a musician's world and bridge the industry gap by bringing their stories, expertise, and advice to early career artists. Subscribe to join us for a fun chat about life as a creative person, tips and tricks for pursuing an artistic career, navigating the music industry, and more. I am your host, Emma, and today I will be interviewing BrielleBeth. Elizabeth Gabrielle, also known as BrielleBeth, is a pop R&B singer hailing from Jakarta, Indonesia, and now resides in Toronto, Canada. She has a musical upbringing including advanced training in classical piano, combined with a father who MD'd multiple touring funk, soul, and R&B bands in Southeast Asia. BrielleBeth is a seasoned vocalist, keyboardist, and performer, already at the young age of 23. With mentorship from an experienced producer and connections ranging through the Canadian and Southeast Asian music communities, BrielleBeth is poised to make a serious impact on the pop R&B audiences of today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Bedroom Studios podcast. I'm really excited to have you here and to talk to you more about your music. You have a lot of hats that you wear and you do a lot of things, so I'm excited to learn more about it.
Thank you. Me too. I'm excited to be here, for sure.
Yeah, so my first question is, how did your musical journey start and how did it develop to lead you to where you are now?
Okay, so I grew up in the musical family, I'd say. I grew up in Indonesia, Jakarta, and as maybe it's a stereotype thing, but like my parents put me into classical piano since I was like 2 years old. So I was knowing music, or I knew music since then, and my dad was a keyboard player in like a soul disco type of band. So throughout my childhood, like I was always in music. I learned classical piano, and then like around like 8-9 years old, I started to just sing along and like, you know, write like kids songs. But being in a classical piano lessons, I think it just put me in such a box. Like I did not know how to like improvise. I did not know how to play chords. I did not know how to like jam to music. It was just like read a book and then play it. So thankfully my dad jumped in and he showed me how to play chords. He showed me how to play some R&B ballad songs. So I'm grateful for that. I guess he was like a huge kind of influence when I was a kid when it comes to music. And after that, I grew up learning classical piano still. And then I started, you know, not producing, I guess. I started writing my own songs when I was in junior high school. And then high school came. And then my dad would invite me to perform in local bands like in Hard Rock Cafe, Jakarta, or like other cities in Indonesia to be the keyboard player. And sometimes he would like feature me to be like one of the vocalists and sing my own songs. So yeah, it was a great experience for sure when I was a kid. But then I moved to Canada after I graduated high school. And music was not a thing because I didn't have the instruments or nor the facility to make music. I only had like a tiny little iPad and I did not know how to produce at that point. So I was just messing around with GarageBand because that was the only tools I had. So I was just like, you know, creating the samples or like using the GarageBand demo loop or anything like that, and then you know, write on top of it. But long story short, after like a year or 2 years in Canada, I finally met Justinian, which is my main producer right now. And ever since then, we've just been working together really closely. He's been my executive producer. He's my mentor and coach too when it comes to like music in North America. He would teach me music lessons, history, theory, and he would remind me my music theory, I guess, that I learned back in the day. And ever since then, I just have been really working closely with him, and this is where I'm at right now. So yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
hope that answered your questions, but yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. When you were sort of finding your style, when you were writing music and finding the type of music that you wanted to make, how did you sort of come across that?
So yeah, when I was a kid, I guess my dad would introduce me to like classic R&B ballad tunes. my classical piano teacher as well, like she would just show me like David Foster. Oh my gosh, English, I'm so sorry. David Foster's David Foster's songs, and I think David Foster was like one of my biggest influence when it comes to music. Like he make timeless songs. He composed so many amazing ballad, R&B, disco track, and I really adore his art and craft. So I guess like that's kind of how it started, and then of course, like as time grows, I grow as well. Like my taste for music has grown, and right now where I'm at is like I'm trying to combine my love for old R&B ballad to like more modern R&Bs and pop. And I think that's the sound that I'm trying to create. But also like I'm trying to dip in more to like my cultural music, like Indonesian music. I feel like it could be really great to like kind of combine like R&B ballad, Indonesian classical instruments. So we'll see what's gonna happen. It's probably in the future soon, but yeah,
that would be really cool. Did you find that there was a difference between the music scene in Indonesia and in Canada when you moved? Was it something you had to adjust to?
To be honest with you, I was not really in the scene back in Indonesia. Like I was part of like like my dad's band, and we performed sometimes, but I didn't understand the business. Like I didn't understand how to make songs, produce it, and then release it on Spotify and like all of this digital platforms. So I think that the biggest difference is the fact that we live in Toronto, which is there are amazing musicians that are up and coming and rising from Toronto, and are more recognized, I guess, from the North American point of view. So I think that's like the biggest difference here. Like I think there are more competitions when it comes to music in Canada, but also like everybody is like Toronto is really good when it comes to music. So many amazing artists are coming from the city, so I'm just excited to be one of them, at the end of the day.
Sure. Speaking of, you have recently released a song called I Know.
Oh no.
And yeah, I listened to it. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
It's so good.
Thank you.
And I was hoping we could talk a little bit about that because it's very exciting. What was the concept and inspiration for that song?
I know it's such it's a sassy song, I guess. It was like right away earlier in the year, I'm gonna put out a sassy song. No, it's the concept behind it is the idea of a relationship, I guess, like where I feel like I'm giving so many chances and opportunities for a person to always screw it up. And I think the song is kind of like a reminder for myself to just say, enough is enough. And the fact that he's been lying this whole time, and I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. It's such a short song. A lot of people come to me and say like, why is it so short? I think it's such a teaser though, because I'm about to put out more of my art real soon. So I think it's such a teaser, but also like I'm planning to make the extension version of I Know. So yeah, we're just really excited to like keep making the craft. But in long story short, I Know is about me come to realization where enough. This is enough. Like I don't want to deal with the lies anymore and the headaches anymore, and I'm about to move on. Yeah,
it's funny because it's so short, but when you get to the end of it, because it's short, it makes you want to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah, that's like my trick. Like I would just want people to loop it over and over again. But no, I honestly, like, people came to me and said that why is it so short, and some people complain about it. I'm like, I love it, I love how simple it is, and like how you can loop it, and I love it. So I don't apologize for it.
I feel like it's like an interlude.
Exactly.
Track,
It's like a little teaser, but yeah.
And when you were planning your release, what sort of things did you consider, and how did you plan it in terms of like how you're going to promote the song?
Okay, so I've grown a lot learning about the music industry, I think, in North America. Like, my first release was in 2022. It's called Give Me Your Love. It was featuring my producer, Jasmine, as well. I didn't understand. Like, that was my very first time ever putting it into distribution and, like, have my name on it. Didn't really understand what's going on. I just kind of, you know, YouTube some tutorials or, like, Google, like, what should I prep. Obviously I made a lot of mistakes here and there, but apparently that song hit really good, like, for my first song. I got featured for Spotify editorial, some playlist there, so it was like it went pretty well for the first song. And then I took like a break, I guess. Like, after that I didn't release anything, and I released I Know a couple months ago in May. But the thing is, I'm trying to do batch processing, so I finalized all the songs first, and then I shipped the content first for, you know, several songs, and then I just planned the release, like, for the whole year, technically, to, like, have, this is the release, this is promotions, these are the content. I don't want the headache at the end of the year. So that's kind of like how I operate. So when it comes to promotional and everything else, I would just make sure the song is finalized, mixed and mastered, and make sure I have enough content for it. And then I don't want to say, like, just do what everybody else does, but there's always, like, a system when it comes to, like, releasing music. I think it's just a matter of your content, your team, and your creativity to, like, you know, put the best ads and, like, talk to press and playlist and, you know, show up for, like, an interview or, like, I think it's, as an independent artist, like, I think it's just, like, about the grind to, like, make sure your music is listened to. Yeah, I hope that answered your questions. But
no, that's really good. I'm also trying to move in that direction of just making a lot of content in advance, so then I could just go post.
Yeah, it just really reduced the headache at the end of the day. Like, I think. Yeah,
because if you're trying to make something right, like, the week before you put it out, every single time you want to put something, it's just, like, it's so stressful because it's like you always have a deadline,
and even then, like, you know for sure that it's not gonna happen at the deadline. Like, even I'm planning everything for the year,
and then you have to, like, rush things when some things take longer.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's kind of like how I operate. Sorry, I was just blank for a bit.
Yeah, no worries. That's really cool. So for those people listening right now, we met a year ago at the auditions for an artist development program called Honey Jam. It was a really cool experience auditioning for that, and that's where we met. I remember when we were with the other girls and we were talking afterwards, you mentioned that you were applying for a lot of grants, and so I wanted to ask you about your process applying for grants and where you look, and sort of your thoughts on grants applications, because they are important for indie artists.
So yeah, a year ago, actually around that time when we met, like, I was going hard on applying for grants because that was my first time, and I only had one song out, so I didn't really expect much. I think it was just, like, a learning opportunities for me to write for grants. Didn't hire anybody. Like, I tried to do everything myself. It was before ChatGPT too. Hey, so, like, I was doing everything in my own time. But I didn't get any of them, unfortunately. I applied for, like, 6-7 grants around that summertime, which is quite a bit, and it was a lot of work. I guess, like, my thoughts on grants in Canada, I think, based on what I see, like, I know a lot of people that are getting grants, or they were getting grants. It does help. It helps a lot of, you know, upcoming artists to make their art better and, you know, afford paying or delegate, you know, some tasks to, like, expert. So I think having grants, I think it's really great addition for artists in Canada to pursue their dreams. But also, like, I've seen a lot of artists that are really dependent on grants. So I have, like, some mixed feelings when it comes to grants, to be honest. Like, I don't want to create this habits or mindset that, like, oh, I'm just gonna put out my grants when I sorry, I'm just gonna put out my music if I have like $10,000 from the government, and like, please government, please help me pay my art, or like like it feels like I'm begging just to do my art, while I feel like I could work and get money somewhere else to reinvest back to my art, which is what I've been doing, to be honest with you. So yeah, I have mixed feelings when it comes to grants, but it's not an easy process. I don't know like what's the measurement, I guess. Like, I don't know what are they looking for. I think they're trying to be inclusive about who's getting it. So yeah, I have mixed feelings when it comes to grants. It's both positive and negative.
If you don't mind me asking, what has been your process for finding ways to fund your art and to make it work?
I'm really fortunate, to be honest. Like, I'm grateful because Justinian, he's my main producer. We do a lot of like the production stuff in house. So I'm really grateful that we can just find that working balance, win-win situation. When it comes to like mixed and master, or sometimes just hiring like session players, session musicians, that's a little bit different. And also, like, I would put most of my fund would go towards the promotion aspect. So it would go towards the content creation, the ads, if I ever put on an ad, press and playlist, and all of that. But yeah, I fund my music, everything myself, to be honest. Like, I don't get donation, I don't get grants, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just like me having another day job, and trying to save up for my music at the end of the day, because like this is what I want to do. I don't really want to work for somebody else. Like, I want to have my own thing,
Yeah. And the nice thing about music is that everything that you put into it, you can build upon it. It's not like you spend money on something and it's like, oh, I did this thing and then now it's gone and I have to start from scratch again. It's like, no, you learn, and it's an investment.
It is an investment, and I think a lot of people are getting tired, and maybe a lot of people are more comfortable. Like, they just want to have a comfortable life, which is like fine. Like, you make your money, you go 9 to 5 and just have like a comfortable life. But like, I think true musicians, or like true artists, like we sacrificed a lot, to just put a part of us, which is our art, to the world.
Yeah, I got really lucky because for my music releases, I was able to apply for a grant from my school. So it was a lot easier to get than, like SoCan grants or the Ontario.
So you got the grant?
I did. It's a fairly small amount, but it's enough to do the thing. For my EP, I had to invest a lot of my personal funds as well. And that was hard because that was my first release, and so like, I didn't know how much things were supposed to cost.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know how much my budget quote unquote should be. So that was tricky to navigate. But like, again, it was a learning experience.
It was a learning experience, and for next time.
Yeah, but now I'm graduating, so I gotta find other ways.
But congrats! I mean, you'll find another grants or fundings, opportunities. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you produce anything yourself, or is it mostly your producer that you're working with and sort of bouncing ideas off of?
I co-produced a lot of my tracks, especially the one that are upcoming. Yeah, I co-produced it. I think, my producer is amazing. He is really creative, and I think we work together for quite a bit, so he knows like my tendencies or my taste. But I co-produce because I'm a little bit picky, when it comes to like the art that I want to put out. Like, I'm a little bit picky when it comes to like my vocals and what instruments that I want to bring to the table. So I do co-produce. I play keys too, and sometimes I play the bass on the keys, and like I put the loop samples, or like I would just ask like, can we put some strings? Can we put some guitar? I cannot play guitar, but I would just bouncing ideas. So yeah, I co-produce. I produce all my vocals. So I engineer my own vocals, and I learned to mix it. So for the next songs, like, actually mix my vocals. So yeah, I'm really hands-on when it comes to my songs.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Something I've heard from one of my teachers is like, he's always saying to me, like, you should just learn how to do it yourself.
100%.
Because you know what you want.
Yeah. And it's less about, you know, like, having the control. It's more about, like, when you actually in a room with producers and engineers, then you can communicate that more effectively.
And do you have any tips for making connections and finding opportunities from more of like a networking, interpersonal perspective?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I think I'm actually would consider myself as an introverted. Like, I would like to just be by myself, you know, sipping a coffee, reading a book, making my own music. But fortunately enough, like, my jobs are pushing me to be an extrovert person. Like, I do events a lot, like entertainment events. Like, I do like music events and like film events and stuff like that. So, and music as well, like as an entertainer, performer, like, you need to be extroverted. So I think when it comes to like tips, you don't need to be extroverted to, you know, get network, but I think it requires intention and the power to wanting to like put yourself out there and just not afraid to embarrass yourself. That's one thing that I find it hard to like, I guess being embarrassed, you know, like when I perform or when I even, you know, come to like a networking session or like networking session in the studio or anything like that. Like, I think there's always this voice in the back of my head that say like, oh, don't look a fool, you know, like make sure, you know, be good and be socially acceptable and stuff like that. But sometimes like that would just hold me back to like not speaking my mind or like not saying that like, hey, I'm a dope artist, you know, like check my songs on Spotify. I feel like it just required that confidence to actually wanting to put yourself out there. And like, that's the best thing that I think every artist can do, is just think that you're dope, think that you're good at what you do, and you know, and if you think that, and I think people would believe you. I think when it comes to networking, just go out there. I mean, digital platform too right now, right? Like, it's not hard to just, you know, search a hashtag Toronto's musician, Toronto's new R&B artist or anything, and just follow some people and DM them. Like, I think it's just a matter of whether you want it or not. Yeah.
Did you feel that you had to, I guess, transition into... Let me rephrase this question. When I perform, I feel like I have to be something that's very different from who I am normally as a person. Not in a bad way, but just like I have to play a different character. And in order to engage with the audience and be confident, because I'm more of, I guess, a soft-spoken person, and I have nervous vibes, which is okay. There's no problem with that. But when I'm performing, I don't want to give off nervous vibes. And so that's something I'm, I guess, trying to grow with and learn how to do, just like figure out my performance persona. And my question for you is, do you feel something similar being an introverted person?
If I said I'm introvert, I think everybody that knows me will tell me like, no, you're not. But I would say that let me try to think for this one. I think personally, anybody, like I think intelligent, you know, people in the world are people who are aware and are people who are especially socially aware, you know, when it comes to like this business. I don't think there is anything wrong to hop into a character and be in that character and portray that character. I don't think there's anything wrong of being nervous as well. I think every big artist are definitely nervous before they go on tour, and you know, like I feel like Ariana Grande probably feel nervous as well. And sometimes, this is what I feel like I should tell myself too. It is intriguing, for some people to like see you're nervous, as a new young girl just start to perform, I guess, for the first time in her life. I think it's a unique story to tell to people that, oh wow, she's really nervous performing her first songs, but then like, let's watch her in 3 months, let's watch her in a year, like that's definitely that growth that people are waiting for, and I think that creates such a good narratives. So I don't think being nervous is necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's just a matter of confidence, right? I think it comes back to like what I said about the networking thing is just in the mind of ourselves. I gotta repeat this to myself every time that like, you're dope, you wrote this song, you know what's up, you're gonna be good, you're good, you're not perfect, make mistakes as soon as possible, fail fast, embarrass yourself 1,000 times, and then once you kind of put that in your brain and keep repeating it to yourself, then I think you start to believe that. You start to believe that, okay, I'm dope. No matter what I do tonight, if I hit some flat notes, I'm good. People will like it, I think that's kind of like my motto. I just need to like keep reminding myself, I'm dope. I'm this shit, So like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I hope that answered your question. I don't know if I go in tangents, but
no, that was very wise. That was awesome.
Thank you.
It's always interesting for me to, I guess, hear people talk about performing and just like the whole confidence element of being a musician, because that's something that I've always struggled with. Just having the confidence to share what I'm making. So it's interesting to hear people's perspectives, because not everyone will have issues with confidence, but I think we can all still relate to that in a way. So it's like just hearing all these different perspectives is really cool.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, like, I think confidence is something that just not pop out of, like right now, like I'm confident. I think it's something that you got to build over time, and I think it takes humility for you to understand that this is where I'm at, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking in general. About you in general. But I think, because I will have performance in like 3 days, and I'm just trying to tell this to myself that, you know what, like, this is where I'm at, I'll do the best that I can, but then like, in a year I will definitely be so much better performance, as long as I keep that going, yeah.
I feel like right now, especially because I've been performing a lot more recently, I feel very much like I'm in the middle of the ladder. But then it's also like, that means that you have the vision of where you want to be, and so you know what your goal is, and you're still climbing the ladder. There's still movement.
You're gonna be there, as long as like just focus and keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah, it's like we have to be okay. We have to be okay with where we're at, or else we will just always be discouraged, because we'll always have some new goal to go towards.
That's definitely my biggest struggle at first, because I'm a belligerent person. That's like my other traits. It's a good thing and a bad thing, I'd say, but yeah, like at first it's hard for me to get, to take criticism. Like it was really hard for me to be like, oh, like, you think my vocal is trash or this and that, but it takes a while for me to like understand that, like, it's okay to be flat right now, like I know like what I don't need, I know like what I shouldn't do, I think that it takes humility for me to be dope,
Oh yeah, because it's so personal.
It is.
So like hearing criticism over something that you've put your heart into is always so hard.
Yeah, and I feel like back at the time, like, I was just resenting these people. Like, I was like, oh, you're so mean, or like this and that. But at the end of the day, like, they care so much more than people that clap the hardest for me, they care so much more about like my growth, rather than people that just like, oh, you're so dope, you're so cool, like, like I just start to realizing that give me more criticism, give me more feedback, because you actually care of my growth.
Like, they see the potential.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you about your songwriting process and what that looks like.
No, when I was a kid, my only instruments were my vocals and piano. So I would write like on the spot, acoustic vibe. Taylor Swift was like one of my childhood inspiration. Of course, she was the best songwriter at that time, at least, you know, right now, so I could say. But when I was a kid, like I was just doing acoustic piano and writing melodies and lyric on the spot. But like right now, since, you know, we're closer with the producer and I know how to produce now, it's either like we had some loops, beats, you know, something that start, and we would just top line on it. We would just like say gibberish, sing melodies, and then write off of that melody and make that into a song. Or we just make things from the scratch and like start from the production and then vibe, top line on it, and then write on it. But yeah, like I do sometimes have co-writers in the room, so we were just like bouncing ideas. But I like to write by myself too. Like I think it's in my zone. Like I'm in my element when I write by myself. But I think having co-writers in the room really helps. And I'm not the best at lyrics because English is not my first language. But I think it's really good for somebody to like kind of correct my thoughts and my I guess like my thoughts or like my grammar even on how I pronounce things on the spot, you know. Like I think having co-writers is definitely a beneficial thing, but I don't take away the I guess like the positive thing out of writing things by myself, because I am comfortable writing things by myself.
So it's like a mix of the two.
Yeah, and also like it's so funny because like when I put out like a demo or like when I put out like a song, people would come and ask like, is it based on true story, or like who is this guy and who, like what happened? No, not really. Sometimes you know, the songs that I write are based on somebody else's story, or like based on a character that we created in, you know, in the room, or it's based on my true story. So it's always like a mixture. I make songs that are about, you know, being cheated on or cheating on somebody, you know, and it's not always based on true stories. I think it's just the creative minds. Yeah.
When you're top lining, do you have moments where you're like, oh, like that's the hook I want, or like that's really catchy? Because I don't know, I feel like I'm going through a period where I'm like, oh, I want to find a good melody, a good, like whatever that means, but it's hard to define what a good melody is. So like, is it for you when you're sort of just in the process, how do you approach writing hooks and melodies?
I think when it comes to top line, especially with my producer, we sometimes just like grab like 10 beats or 20 beats, you know, put it in the project and then just like start top lining one. So it takes like, you know, sometimes it takes right away to find a good hook, or sometimes it takes 3-4 different tracks to like, you know, find a catchy tunes. But I think I could, like most of the time I would identify right away. I'm like, oh, this is amazing for a hook. Like let's just write on the hook right away. You know, like I think it's pretty obvious for me to identify like this is the hook, or like I think this would be good for a pre-chorus or anything. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes I gotta listen back to it, or even like re-top line and just comp it, you know. Like at the end of the day, like comping is one of the tools that we use in production. So I think that's my answer. I hope that answered your question.
No, the way I asked it was sort of all over the place.
No,
but that's a really cool idea, to just use multiple tracks and have multiple shots at it.
Yeah,
I guess it really takes the pressure off of, it's like, oh, like the first time I do this it has to be perfect. It's like, no. I have 10 other tracks.
Yeah, you have 10 other beats. Like just keep going, you know, and then when you find the right moment, you'll find the right moment. Like especially when it's in the creative process. Like I think when you're finalizing song, your mind would be different, but when you're like in the creation process, like just go wild, you know, make some weird noises like Young Thug or like anybody, you know. So I think
you released your single in May, and so do you have any performances or projects, releases coming up that you would like to share?
Oh god, it's fun. I released the first song of the year in May. I have performance on Saturday, July 15th. And then I'll have another one actually on July 29th. It's gonna be Indonesian like food festival at Young and Danda. So if you wanna come through, hey, come through. So yeah, that's my performance. And also like I actually just posted 2 days ago that my next release is happening on my 24th birthday, which is in 2 weeks. It is called Grind It. It is another song that I feel like really close to my heart, but it's gonna be my next release. Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. It's such a different song. Like, I think it's my favorite song so far, for sure, that I've put out. I guess the reasons why, because my previous songs were just about me being confident and sassy and, knowing what I want and just being blunt. But also, but like this song, Grind It especially, just kind of like shown the different side of me, which is like, I'm still being blunt, I'm still being me, but also it's more soft and it's about me not being afraid to crave, I guess, the feeling of intimacy and feeling of love and affection. I think, there are a lot of like girls out there that are just so confident and like, I got it all, I got my shit all together, but then like, deep down, like, you want attention and affection and love. And I feel like that's me right now, where I'm not afraid to kind of just like say that, like, oh, I want some intimacy, in my life. So that's Grind It's happening in 2 weeks. I'm excited.
So by the time this podcast episode comes out, the song will be on the streaming platforms. So if you are listening to this podcast, pause it, go stream the song, and then come back.
Oh my gosh, this song is really close to my heart though. Like it gone through like trials and tribunals. Like I loved it. And if you don't like it, you can just skip it. It's fine. I love it. I hope you guys like it too. But yeah, so like that's my next release. I do have 2 more that I'm planning to release this year.
Yay!
So just keep that in mind.
So excited.
Like, I'm gonna bring you guys to a roller coaster of emotions.
And we'll have all the links in, I don't know where they will be, but wherever you would listen to the podcast, and I guess in the description of the episode, they will be there.
Thank you. What about you? Are you releasing more?
October.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Is it like an album or project or just a single?
I have 2 singles that I'm working on right now. Did all the recording in June, and it's being mixed. We're trying to film some videos for it.
Oh my god, I love the grinding mode. Like, I love when, like, I love when artists, like, care. Because there are so many artists out there that, like, don't care. They're just like, let me just put out a song and then that's it. And I'm like, but there's so much more. So much more, especially, like, if you're an independent artist. Like, there's so much more to do.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about these ones because they're like love songs in
a
way.
I love
that. It's very close to my heart, literally and figuratively. And I'm excited. I didn't know if I would be recording this year, and it ended up working out. And
I'm happy.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
That's nice. Oh, look at us, grown so fast. Like after a year, like I feel like when we met, did you have songs out?
I was in the process of releasing my EP.
Right?
Because I felt just like, at the very beginning of that journey.
Because I remember I felt like months after that, and you were starting to, promoting more songs and doing more performances. So I was like, whoa, a year has passed, and here we are, we're just growing.
She's a strong, independent woman.
Exactly. That's what we are.
I have a question back to your writing process, because I'm just really interested. How do you find inspiration to write about deeper things, or to write about anything when in those moments when life feels kind of mundane and
stagnant,
not much is happening in life?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question, actually. I'm such a drama girl too, so I would just find things. I never really have a writer's block, to be honest with you. I would just pull things in out of anything I've seen or I've experienced. I made some joke I made some joke songs. There's this song that I really like, actually. I wrote the hook, I love it, but we want to call it Ghost Man. It's like Toronto slang, the men's, but we use ghost men's. But no, like I would just pull in stories like from everywhere. Like I wrote songs about my coworkers' love stories. I wrote songs about my exes, about my producers, like, you know, life experiences, or even sometimes we just jump into a character and feel the beat. I guess like, oh, this beat feels like we're in a club or we're in the beach or anything, you know, and just kind of create the emotions. I think that's like the power of being an artist. Like you create emotions, because like if I write a broken-hearted song and then like in a year I'll be in a happily healthy relationship, but I still need to perform that song, you know, like you're not, like my audience are not gonna expect me to break up with this person to like perform it well, you know. Like I think we have the power as an artist to steer and portrays the emotion as what we are intentionally wanting the audience to listen to. I think that's like our biggest power, to like create emotions and use it to make people resonate, you know, and relate.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
So when you're beginning your journey as a singer, artist, is there a resource or a piece of advice that you wish you had, or like something you learned later on that was like, oh, like if I was in that position I was way back when, that would have been really helpful?
Yeah, I don't think I have regrets, but I think I could have been a little better maybe, or like I could have been more knowledgeable, I guess, if I studied jazz or even, you know, R&B like earlier on in life. Like I think being in a classical piano is great, like it's a really good foundation, but I think growing up with that in that was not sufficient, I think, you know, because it creates some sort of like rules in my mind when it comes to music, you know. Like when you learn classical, I have nothing, you know, there's nothing wrong with classical music, but like I think this is what I learned. It just creates some rules, like what's wrong, what's right, like this needs, you know, the note needs to be perfect. Like I think that's what I learned in classical school. But I feel like music is about, you know, the freedom and about the emotions. So I wish I had that experience earlier on, because even up to now, like it's like I'm still sometimes stuck in that box where like I think, oh, this is wrong, this is not wrong, but there's actually nothing really wrong when it comes to music, you know. Like it's just taste and emotions. So I think that's one thing definitely that I feel like I wish I had earlier on, but also I wish I had the people that I have right now earlier on, to be honest, because I feel like it's really important to have a support system when it comes to this business. Honestly, like yes, you can do it by yourself. It's great if you can do it by yourself, but like team and collaborators are so key, you know, when it comes to music industry. You cannot really do it by yourself. I think that's what I'm trying to do right now, just expanding my team and like make sure everybody's got a win-win situation.
Yeah, it's funny how like it's always like you never know when you're gonna meet someone
and you just change your life. We change your life sometimes, you know, good or bad, you know. People sometimes change your life in a drastic way. Even
if it's in a bad way, you can write a song about it afterwards.
Yeah, of course. Write a breakup song, write a heartbreak song. That's what artist is about. Yeah. Ditch this person. No, I'm kidding. I like the best kind of music are mostly like the music are like the ones that are raw, you know, the ones that are so fresh and like so true, you know. And I feel like I really appreciate and like respect those artists that just can say at the end of the day, music is a fantasy, you know, like it's like what we write in music is like fantasy and imagination, you know. So I feel like if you can be as raw as you can, it's so like Kanye West, I think, you know, Jail, I think it's one of like my favorite songs. It's so honest, you know. I just love honesty so much.
Yeah, it's funny because there's, with the really, really famous celebrities, there's so much drama that surrounds their art. But I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me on a smaller scale, the only drama that is surrounding my music is my own personal connections with it. And so, especially when enough time has passed for me to distance myself from what I wrote it about. It's like you said, it's like a fantasy. It's a story I'm telling. It's not the experience. It's the story.
It's the story. I think I relate and resonate with that, because I feel like that's what music is about. Like, it's a story, you know, like it's an art that portrays any kind of stories, you know. I love music so much. Like, I think it's a wild like dimension to me. Like, you can go really wild with it, you know, and there's nothing is wrong in music, you know. Like, what's his name again? Tyler, the Creator, creates like eccentric experimental music that, like, wow, what is this? But also, like, hey, like, it's an art form, it's a story at the end of the day. So yeah, I love it so much. Yeah,
it's like, what's the worst that can happen? You play a wrong note, the world's not gonna explode.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes to taste, right? Like, obviously there are like standardized like pitch and like chord progression and stuff, but like it comes to taste at the end of the day, you know. And there's always audience for things.
I like what you were saying earlier about just not being afraid to embarrass yourself.
Yeah,
because then that's where you can take risks and make something really cool.
Yeah.
So last question is, do you have any music recommendations?
Oh my god, I listen to all music, to be honest. But I'm crazy right now for Money Long. I don't know if you know Money Long, who Money Long is, but she is an amazing songwriter, R&B singer. Her actual name, I think, is Priscilla Renee. She wrote for like big celebrities before, and now she just started to get the recognition. She did the Hours and Hours song. I don't know if you ever heard it, like Hours and Hours by Money Long.
Ooh, maybe.
But her
I'm
album,
not sure.
Yeah, it's like a really good, like, it's really popular in R&B communities. She just won a Grammy too, after like 2 years of like releasing music. Oh my god, that was crazy. The thing is, like, it's not luck from my point of view. The fact that she won a Grammy after 2 years of just releasing music, I think it's not like luck. I think it's like her tenacity and her just skill set is insane. So Money Long, I listened to all the songs in the PDA album, like, oh my god, amazing. But my favorite song would be Butterfly Effect by Money Long, because that song is just so beautiful. I think you have to listen to it. I'm gonna push you to listen to it. It's such a beautiful song that touched me. It touches me. Like, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited to share it with you.
Oh no, don't apologize.
Yeah. It's called Butterfly Effect.
Listen to it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so exciting.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
Here.
It was fun.
I'm so glad that I was able to talk to you.
Me too. It was fun. I like that we have, you know, I like music conversation, you know? Like, it's not...
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's not like... What is it called? It's not like often for me to like have just like talk about like, you know, what I do best, you know. And I hope you love it too. So, hey, thank you for inviting me.
I'm so happy that you're here. Happy that we were able to do this. There's a lot of back and forth trying to coordinate a time that worked.
I know. I'm sorry. I was so bad with like just making a time, but like...
Oh, me too. It was like just a busy month.
I know. It's a busy, crazy year. Oh my god, 2023 has been just a big meteorite for me, but but no, I'm really happy that we did this finally, and yeah, I'm looking forward for it to release, and I hope I'll see you downtown somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for listening to episode 6 of the Bedroom Studios podcast. Don't forget to add this podcast to your playlists and like and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at Bedroom Studios Podcast. I will also be linking Brielle's social media in the description. You should definitely check out her music, and also follow our playlists of guest music recommendations. And I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.